London, autumn 1940. And no one on this street knows which night will be the last that feels ordinary. Within months, sky over docks will learn your name in fire. But right now, the city is holding its breath. For now, you're standing near St. Paul's, where the bells are muted and every window is taped and shaded. Coal smoke sits on your tongue. A warden's whistle cuts the dark. Footsteps hurry. Lanterns hooded. Voices swallowed by blackout cloth and glass. Somewhere beyond the Thames, engines gather, patient as weather. You pull the blackout curtain tight until the last blade of lamplight dies. Tape crosses the window pane like a bandage. Outside, a bus rolls past with its headlights painted down to thin slits, and the driver leans forward as if he can will the street into view. This isn't style, it's policy. London learned fast that light is an address. So the city goes dark on purpose. Shops, homes, pubs, even the riverfront, because bombers navigate by what they can see. The rules reach into your hands: shade the bulb, hood the torch, slow the car, keep the glow off the pavement. Break them and a warden will knock, then write you up, then make an example. Street lamps wear metal shades. Car windows are smeared with paint. Even cigarette tips get cupped in palms. You can feel the war in the smallest gestures everywhere tonight. You'll see them everywhere. RP wardens in tin hats, whistles at their lips, pacing corners and doorways. Fire watchers on rooftops with buckets and sand. Volunteers with stretchers folded like furniture, waiting for the moment they're needed. It's a whole, invisible city built on top of the visible one. But listen, under the quiet, London keeps doing what it always does. Tea is poured. Last trains clatter into stations. A radio murmurs the news in a steady voice that refuses to panic. People laugh too loudly, then stop, as if they've remembered something. Because the night has a rhythm now. First darkness, second discipline, third waiting. And somewhere above that discipline, engines are already arranging the future. Stop one early evening. And the blackout has already changed the shape of London. You step off Ludgate Hill and the street drops into a thick, managed darkness. Shopfronts are shut. Windows are masked. Even the posters seem to fade without light to hold them. A policeman's cape flashes, then disappears. An ARP warden stands at the corner in a steel helmet, watching for the smallest mistake. A crack of illumination, someone opens a door too wide, and his whistle snaps the air. The door closes. The city exhales and holds it again. You walk by touch and by sound, boots on wet stone, the soft scrape of a bicycle tire, a bus groaning forward with shaded lamps like narrowed eyes. People move close to the wall, shoulders turned, parcels hugged tight. Nobody wants to be the brightest thing on the road. At an intersection, sandbags stack around a doorway. A street sign has been painted to stay readable without glare. A warden's torch sweeps your shoes, not your face. Two women trade directions in whispers, then separate like strangers. This is the curfew mood, even when there isn't a posted hour. It's not law on paper so much as pressure in the chest. Keep moving, keep quiet, keep the light buried. Look up and you see almost nothing, which is the point. Look down and you see puddles reflecting a glow that shouldn't be there. Somewhere a cigarette flares, then vanishes inside of yet a cupped hand. And beneath it all, ordinary life keeps trying. A pub door opens for a second. You catch beer breath, laughter, a burst of song, then the curtain drops again. Across the river, anti-aircraft guns are manned. Searchlights wait, tilted like fingers. Tonight, London is practicing being invisible. Stay close, don't linger in the open. Time to move. Stop 2. You leave the street and step into a front room that smells of damp wool and strong tea. A kettle ticks on the hob. The blackout curtain is pinned tight, edges tucked like a military uniform. Someone has wedged a towel under the door to kill the last spill of hallway light. On the table, a chipped cup, a plate of bread and margarine, the day's newspaper folded and reread. On the mantel, a clock that sounds too loud in peacetime and barely loud enough now. A gas mask box sits by the chair, ration books in a drawer, and a street map pinned for the shelter. The whole room is doing the same thing London is doing, making itself smaller, quieter, harder to find. Then the radio comes alive. Not music, not comfort exactly, a voice, steady and practiced, speaking for millions of rooms just like this one. The BBC doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It narrates weather, bulletins, the kind of calm that feels almost like a rule you're expected to follow. You can hear the city on it, too, the faint hiss of distance, the click between stations. Somewhere, someone else turns the dial and lands on the same sentence. That's the point. In the blackout, you can't see your neighbors, but you can still join them. Routine becomes a kind of civil defense. Tea poured when hands shake. Plates cleared even when nobody's hungry. A child made to finish homework by torchlight. A father pretending to read while listening for a sound he won't admit he's waiting for. Outside, boots pass. A whistle. A car grinds low in second gear. The world keeps moving, but it moves carefully. The radio goes on. And the room follows its rhythm. First, instructions disguised as normal life. Second, reassurance that doesn't quite convince. Third, the quiet space between words, where everyone listens for the other sound. Because up above this ceiling, beyond the blackout cloth and the taped glass, the night is changing shape. It's only a matter of when the sirens decide to say it out loud. Stop. 3. The siren doesn't start like an alarm clock. It blooms. A low note rising into a long public wail that seems to come from everywhere at once. It pours through chimneys and under doors. It turns the radio into background noise. For half a second, nobody moves. That's the strange part. The mind checks the sound against hope. Maybe it's a test. Maybe it's for somewhere else. Then you hear it answered another siren, farther off, and the city accepts what it is. This is the moment the night splits. You can stay where you are, in a room you know, with a kettle and a clock and walls that feel solid. Or you can go out into the blackout again and join the flow of bodies toward shelter. Either choice has weight. Either choice has consequences you won't understand until later. Because air raid warning isn't one sound. It's a system. Observers spot the incoming formations. Messages run through control rooms. The sirens translate all of that into one instruction, simple enough for 1 million people to obey at once. Move. You grab what you always grab. Coat? Keys? Gas mask case? A bag that's been packed and repacked until it feels like a ritual. The cup on the table trembles as you set it down. Someone blows out the lamp that wasn't really lit anyway. In the hall, you meet neighbors you've never spoken to in daylight. They're suddenly close, suddenly real. A woman with her hair pinned tight. A man in shirt sleeves carrying a sleeping child. An old couple moving slowly, as if the siren is just bad weather and they have time. Outside, the street is different now. Not emptier, fuller. The blackout makes faces hard to read, but you can hear the choices in the way people walk. Some hurry, breath loud, hands clenched. Some keep a measured pace like they refuse to give the sky the satisfaction. Wardens appear at corners, pointing, herding. This way. Keep moving. No lights. Their whistles cut through the siren's long note like punctuation. And above it all, the strange quiet of aircraft at distance. Not the bombs yet, just the knowledge of them. You can feel the American part of your brain wanting a clear rule. Go here. Do this. Be safe. London can't offer that. It offers routines, signs, shelters, discipline. It offers minutes. The siren keeps singing. The city keeps deciding. Let's follow the crowd while there's still time to choose. Stop 4. The shelter entrance isn't heroic. It's a stairwell breathing warm air, a painted sign, a warden with a clipboard and a torch held low. You file down into the underground at Aldwych or Holborn or wherever your feet have been trained to go, and the city folds itself beneath the street. The first thing you feel is bodies, crowds pressed shoulder to shoulder, coats damp, breath shared. The second is darkness, even with bulbs along the platform, because the tunnels swallow distance. The third is panic, not loud at first, but present like an electrical hum that rises whenever the siren changes pitch or a rumble passes overhead. People make a home out of the floor, blankets, newspapers, thermos flasks, a child's toy car dragged through soot. Someone has brought a deck of cards, someone else a violin case, as if culture can be packed for the night. You sit, and the concrete steals heat through fabric. You listen to the rails settle. You watch the ceiling for dust. A warden walks the line, counting heads. A chalkboard lists rules: no smoking. Keep aisles clear. Mind children, mind nerves. The air tastes of wet coats and disinfectant. Minutes stretch. Someone checks a watch, then stops, as if time is unsafe. From the outside, shelter sounds like safety. From inside, it feels like a bargain. Underground stations are deep, but not infinite. Public shelters are closer, easier, sometimes crowded past sense. The risk isn't just the bombs. It's what happens when thousands of people are funneled through narrow entrances, down steps, into a space where one stumble can spread. London knows this in its bones, even if nobody likes to say it out loud, because the city is learning a second war inside the first, how to move civilians without crushing them. How do we know this? We have the paper trail, civil defense instructions, warden reports, shelter rules printed and posted. And later, years later, when officials had to account for tragedy, there are files in the National Archives describing what can go wrong in a crowd, like the Bethnal Green tube disaster of March 1943, when people fell on a stairway and the crush killed over 100. Not tonight. Not this year, but the danger lives in the same architecture. So you watch your footing. You keep your hand on the rail. You choose a spot away from the stairmouth. You learn the unspoken shelter etiquette: make space. Share air. Don't start a rumor you can't stop. Above you, London is dark and exposed. Down here, it is packed tight and waiting. The shelter doesn't erase fear. It concentrates it and asks you to breathe anyway. Stop 5, late night in the shelter, and you stop checking your watch. Time doesn't help down here. Sound does. First you hear the guns, not a clean crack. A heavy thud that travels through brick and rail. Then the searchlights, not visible to you, but you can feel them in the way the crowd stiffens, as if everyone imagines the same white beam scraping the sky. Then the bombs arrive as a rumor in the floor. A distant hit is a dull swallow. The tunnel breathes dust. Someone coughs. A child starts to cry and is shushed too fast. The warden walks again, slower now, pretending the clipboard still matters. Another impact. Closer. The platform lights flicker. Not out. Just unsure. Your cup of tea trembles on the concrete and leaves a dark ring like evidence. You don't see fire, You don't see planes. You don't see anything heroic. You get vibration. You get grit between your teeth. You get the sound of masonry deciding whether it wants to stay attached to the ceiling. Above your head, the city is being edited, streets erased, roofs opened, gas mains split. Somewhere, a fire watcher is already running toward a glow he shouldn't be able to see in blackout, because fire ignores rules. Down here, the crowd becomes one animal. It leans with each concussion. It holds still between them. People don't talk. They listen. And when someone does speak, it's a small, practical sentence, the kind you say to keep your hands from shaking. Here, sit closer. Mind the step. Hold him. A loud crash makes the air feel thinner. Dust drifts from the tunnel arch in a soft fall, like ash. The lights steady again. Nobody celebrates. You can't. You know it means only that this one missed you. The helplessness is the point. You did everything right. You blacked out your windows. You came to shelter. You followed the arrows. And still, all you can do is wait while forces you cannot see decide what your street will look like in the morning. Stop. 6. Pre-dawn comes without sunrise down here. It arrives as thinning noise. The gaps between impacts stretch longer. The tunnel settles. People start to move again, not with urgency, with stiffness. A warden walks past and says a few words you've been waiting for, delivered like routine. All clear. The siren's second voice rises outside, and it feels almost unfamiliar, like the city is trying on daylight. You stand, legs numb, shoulders heavy. Blankets get folded the way they were last night and the night before. Someone wipes a child's face with a handkerchief that's already gray. Someone else finishes cold tea and doesn't taste it. Up the stairs, the air changes, not cleaner, different. It smells like wet stone and smoke and something sharp that wasn't there earlier. On the street, the blackout is still in place, but the sky is lighter at the edges. People blink as if they've been underwater. A bus is stopped at an angle it shouldn't be. Glass crunches underfoot. A shop front is missing, like a tooth. And the strangest thing is how fast routine tries to return. A man queues for a newspaper that hasn't arrived. A woman straightens her coat as if she's going to work. Someone finds a working radio in a doorway and turns it on, just to hear a human voice say, "The day has started." You look down your road, trying to recognize it. You count what's still standing, because that's what morning means now. And that's the trick of it. Last night felt like a single event. A siren, a shelter, dust in your mouth. Then morning, one long inhale followed by a cautious exhale. But the Blitz isn't a night, it's a loop. Blackout curtains go up again. Kettles boil again. Children learn to sleep on station floors again. Wardens pace corners again. And somewhere beyond the Thames, engines gather again, patient as weather. That's what makes it different from the disasters Americans like to imagine one day. One headline, then recovery. Here, the recovery happens inside the attack. You sweep glass at dawn, knowing you may hear the same siren at dusk. You queue for bread beside a crater. You go to work past sandbags and still worry about the light leaking from your doorway. London survives by repeating itself on purpose. Routine becomes armor. Quiet becomes discipline. Ordinary life becomes defiance. And the city will keep doing this, night after night, until the calendar itself starts to feel like a kind of siege. We started with an ordinary evening in 1940, the kind nobody remembers until they're forced to. Next time, we'll take another walk through another London day and watch how a city rewires itself when the danger doesn't end at sunrise.